This is Nathan Cruz, Principal Schema Architect for LandXML.org and Director of Software Development for the Precision 3D team at Carlson Software. And the purpose of this video is to give you a quick introduction to the LandXML free viewer made available by Carlson Software. So I've downloaded and I've run through the installer, and I wanted to point out that you get two icons that are installed on the desktop. One icon is intended to start the full-blown product, or a demo version of the product. The second icon is the LandXML free edition, which is free to use. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. And the first thing you're going to notice is a registration wizard. So this is really no big deal. You can hit exit and continue to do that for 30 days. Of course, we're going to keep bugging you. The only thing that we are asking for here is simply your name and your email address. And basically, you just click through there. Once that's done, the product launches and we'll never ask you again, and you can launch and relaunch and use the viewer free forever. And you'll notice that it comes up by default with our light control panel active, and the intention behind that is so that you can essentially set up your light settings for your particular machine. Some machines are a little darker than others, some have higher, lower contrast, and so forth. So we basically want to make that very easy to find and as obvious as possible when you fire this up for the first time. Now, one of the things that you also get with the free edition is the LandXML thumbnail generator. And so I'm going to generate extra large icons, why not? And essentially, you'll notice that as I page through here, it's turning your plain boring notebook page icons into actual 3D rendered images of the contents of the LandXML files. And personally, I find this enormously useful in being able to essentially just sort of pan down through here and see what the files look like before we open them up. This thumbnail generator works on only LandXML files. So if we do find an XML file in the directory, for example, here's one called output.xml. It apparently does not have a LandXML element in it. It doesn't have valid LandXML content in it, so we do not do anything with that at all. We leave that to something else. In addition to viewing LandXML 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2 files, the viewer is also good for the new LandXML 2.0 files, which contain the multicolored and multi-textured surface data. So before I jump into that, I will go ahead and open up a LandXML file. Now so like most Windows programs, we do support drag and drop. So if you want to open up this file, you can drag and drop it onto your window and it opens it. If you double click on this, it'll start a new instance of the program and automatically open up that file. We do support multiple scenarios, and in this case I'm going to go back to my default scenario and I'm going to load a very old sample file, and I'm going to adjust my lighting just a little bit for better contrast. And I'm also going to, let's roll that up, I'm going to also drape the geometry that was in the LandXML file. So plane features, alignments, and parcels always come in on this 2D plane that floats up above the actual surface. Go back to my tooltips here. bring this guy up here. The user interface is completely customizable, so you can move all of these windows and panels around. You can, for example, you could take this out and post it down here, or but so whatever your personal preference is, you can arrange the screen in any way, or shut them all off if you want to maximize your graphics screen. But I'm going to go ahead and drape this geometry down to the surface, and in this case, I'm also going to change the parcel color to cyan for a little bit better contrast for this example. So obviously this is a LandXML 1.0 file. Looks like we have a runaway alignment over there that's really not necessary. Now we will import COGO points, survey monuments, reduced survey observations, pipe networks, structures, and let's see, we actually have a pretty long comprehensive list of all the different data types, but it's really all the big four: COGO points, alignments, parcels, and surface data. We will work with surfaces that just have source data, and we'll go ahead and recreate that. If you have the 10 already defined with the points and faces, we will honor that triangulation and bring it in just the way that the creating application exported it. So obviously this LandXML file no longer looks like a plain LandXML file. It actually has a texture that's a single texture that's been applied to the surface. But single textures are not really nearly as interesting as multiple textures. So one thing that I am going to do is undrape the alignment data that I have here, because I'm going to show you a couple of the texturing tools that we have available in the free edition. The first one is called auto texture. So by either selecting the surface here or picking on the surface in the scene, you right click and select the auto texture commands. Of course, you see a lot of disabled commands in here. These are just some of the editing tools that are available in the full product, but I'll go ahead and show you this auto texture feature. So in this case, I'm going to, for this command, so when you start up a command, we have a command prompts and properties that basically show up here on this left-hand panel, and then some basic instructions that show up here at the top of the screen. And the default's asphalt in this case, and that's because there's lots of roads in LandXML files. And what I'm going to do is pick some points along in this road, and I'm going to hit A for apply, and that's going to automatically texture that road surface. Now, how does this work? Basically, we take a look at the points that you pick, and then we do a slope analysis on those. And if it's within a certain tolerance, we include it in the texturing. So I'll go ahead and apply it for this other road, and I'll just press return. The reason why I had this alignment undraped is that draped polylines affect the texturing process. And just to give you so I can see over here, I'm going to do a little double click and zoom quickly here. I could see right away in this case that the slope was just enough different that the texturing stopped here, but I'd prefer that it came out all the way. Some of the tools that we have are some pretty nifty snap tools. So we have the insertion point snap, which is basically vertex points on polylines and on the insertion points for 3D objects. The nearest to objects or to polylines. Then we have a tin snaps, which are the edge of the tin face, the vertex points or the closest 10 vertex point, and then the center point of the face that you're hovering over. This is an angular offset and a linear offset snap that I won't bore you with in this introduction. What I am going to do is turn on the triangular face snap, and just to highlight what I'm doing, I'm going to show this wireframe, because essentially we know that the edge of this road is going to follow known vertex points. But you don't actually have to look at the vertex points, since we have these nifty little snaps available. So I'm going to highlight this polyline by simply gripping it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grip and drag these vertices to these snap points. And I don't need this point, so I'm just going to remove that particular vertex. And we're done. So nice and fixed up, pretty easy. Now the nice thing is that once we get finished with our texturing exercise, we can go ahead and save this as a LandXML 2.0 file, and all of the textures and colors and everything that you see here will go out with the LandXML file, fully self-contained, so that you can ship this single file off to any other application that supports LandXML 2.0, and they will be able to import and recreate all of these textures for you without requiring any external texture image files at all. So that's real convenience. I do want to show just really quickly how to draw polylines. This is the second way to apply, and I'm going to drape these polylines. The default is 3D mode, but in this case, what I'm going to do is drape it to the surface. Because texturing only works with polylines that are draped to the surface. And once you're done drawing your polyline, press C to close. But I'm going to show you another feature that we have, which is if you have a polyline that's not closed, and if it was an imported polyline coming in from LandXML, and you wanted to edit it, because all of these polylines are fully editable, what I'm going to do here is show you, we'll turn on this vertex snap, and then we'll just start drawing another polyline. We're going to start at one end of this polyline, pick a point or two, and then basically press C to close the polyline. Once that polyline is created, you can go to the textures panel, and we have a myriad of textures in here, and I'll give it a really interesting muddy texture. It's simply drag and drop. Full undo support, so I'm going to undo that, and then I can redo it, undo the vertex stuff. So basically we have an unlimited undo support in even in this free edition of the viewer. So that's a little bit about polyline editing and the two different ways of texturing. Again, one is the auto texture, where you pick like points on and we automatically determine the boundary. Once that boundary is created, you can edit that boundary at will, and the textures will automatically update. Then the second way is drawing your own polylines or closing polylines that were imported, and just dragging and dropping your textures down inside of that polyline. If you want to select a texture underneath the polyline, this is going to select a texture polyline. You want to click up one to get to the actual texture information, and this allows you to do things like change the scale of the texture and other properties, and even change the texture itself. So if we want to change the texture, as you can see, it just changed. Now the next feature that we have available is our 3D object viewer. You can this is our standard library that ships with the free edition, but you can also import your own OBJ or SketchUp files into the gallery and basically bring in all of your own stuff. So to insert these guys, we'll just double click, and maybe we'll just place a few guardrail sections up here. Press enter to finish any command. See, the guardrails are in. Once the guardrails are in, you get 3 different grips. The blue grip is always the move grip, the red is for scale, and then the little yellow ball is for rotation. And that makes it pretty easy just to grab these guys. Just a little bit more there. And we have a few other things. We have a few vehicles in here, so you can dress it up if you want to put in, drop in a nice fancy car. One other interesting feature that we also have, and in this particular data set, I don't really have a lot of points. Let me turn on the show IDs here, and this will give us an idea. We'll scroll out. This will give us an idea where these points are. But if you have a LandXML file that has a lot of ground shots, you know, for trees, power poles, curb and gutter, things like that, one of the neat features that we have in P3D is the ability to assign a symbol to either an individual point or to an entire collection of points. And so in this case, I'm going to do something sort of silly, but I'm just going to insert pine trees. And those are really tiny pine trees. They could just have easily, so the again, you just go and pick something. I could pick something a little bit more, how about a little bit taller, like street lights. There we go. Turn off these IDs a little bit. So essentially, we make it really simple to have a 3D representation. All these blue points are basically the COGO points. You can turn on or off their descriptions at will. Those happen to be in the no description. So basically, all you're going to get is a boring ID. But lots of LandXML files have all of this information. You can also show the elevation and the actual coordinates if you want to. That gets a little bit busy, but at times you do want to be able to see that. We also have a measure command so that we can measure, say, from the insertion point of this guy to the vertex point here, and that's going to give you both a measure and a slope distance, and that's the actual 3D slope between the 2 points. I'm sorry, and 3D distance. More important, that's not the 2D distance, it's actually the 3D distance. A brief tour of the settings, so you can pick your language that you want to work in. You can pick your project path. This is just basically the default location that you know, when we prompt you to open or save a file is going to be the default. All of our commands do remember the last settings, so if you had a particular file name that was used last, or if you use a particular value in a command, we are going to remember those every time. And we'll also remember the position of every single window that you had. You can bump up your polyline thickness on the screen. I happen to have mine a little bit thicker just so it shows up a little bit better when you're making a video. And if you're not a really bright and sunny kind of guy, you can set this the skybox to something a little bit darker or lower. We have a complete unit unit support that is extremely flexible. So you can actually mix units. You can have your linear unit in US feet and your diameter units, let's say in something else like centimeters, your rain depth in millimeters. So you can mix metric and imperial units in here at will. Once you get your units and your display precision the way that you want it, you basically can go up and save it. In this case, I've already saved a metric units setting, which basically is just all meters. And then we can quickly switch back to this. So to modify, you can just do a save as and give it a new name, for your own customization. We do also support projection types, and aside from the US, typical NAT83 or UTM-based zones, we also support well-known text and LandXML files. Many LandXML files have coordinate systems defined as well-known text, and when we detect that on load, we will automatically set your coordinate system to that location. So in this case, I'm just going to give this a little whatever zone just to show you that on the tooltip, the effect that has is when you have a projection, you see the northing easting, but you'll also see the latitude and longitude and elevation. If you do not have a projection set, you will not see these values at all. So that's really pretty much it. We have our online help system. We also have links to contact us in the help about, so you can go to our webpage. You can email the team any comments that you may have. We also have online tutorials and videos, of which this is one of the first, so this will actually take you to that page. We have our registration system and system information for your graphics card. Since this is a 3D application, there may be times when we want, if you're having an issue, where we want you to give us some of this information. And we could basically now take this file and we can save it as a LandXML 2.0 file. Now, the one thing that we do, since this is an initial release, what we do export when we save a LandXML 2.0 file is primarily the surface data and the multi-textures. We also export all the COGO points. At this time, we do not export any polyline data yet, because the LandXML schema is very large when it comes to all the different geometry types, and we have fantastic support for importing all of those types, including spirals, but we're working on adding additional application support to be able to round trip completely. So we felt instead of just giving you back really bare bones information, we would simply export everything that we do very well. And in a future update, perhaps in a month or two, we'll post another build that will have full support for importing and exporting of all of the polyline data as well. And just to show you, I'll go to my LandXML 2.0 folder. And I will show you the results of that save. So basically, you still have all of the COGO points, and you have the surface, and you have all of the texturing information. And also in a future release, we will be also saving the object files that you have associated with it. At this point, we're not, but it's really not a big deal to be able to go and actually we'll put dump trucks. On those points. So really so the focus of this initial release is really about providing a really nice LandXML viewer, a generalized viewer that will bring in and let you see all kinds of data from pipe networks to survey monuments to reduced survey observations. This application is not going to do any survey data reduction or anything, at least not in this release. And now we have lots of dump trucks. So that's your brief introduction to the Carlson Precision 3D Land XML Edition free viewer. And I hope you give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it just as much as I do.